In the 1920s, often called the Roaring Twenties, was a decade of exuberance and excess, characterized by jazz music, speakeasies, and flappers. No one knows what flappers are, but I think they're women flapping their upper bodies around with nothing to support them.
Everybody knows what flappers are.
People say they do, but
I'm sure people do. Do you? Because maybe that's why you're saying that. Is this like a friend doesn't know what a flapper is?
He's confided in me, and he's told me that nobody knows.
Do you want me to tell you?
Is it because their boobs are flapping with their bras?
Nah.
Nah?
Nah.
Okay, what is it then?
It is the dresses that they wear. They're flappy.
Yeah,
It was the first time that women were allowed to basically wear dresses. They were like shorter than their knees.
Interesting. And that was flappy? I feel like the longer the dress, the more flappy.
Yeah, that's probably true. But they put embellishments at the bottom. So it would
tassels?
flap. Like tassels, yes, exactly.
I'm going to call them tasslers. Anyway, welcome to Movie Voyage Through Space and Time. I'm Zach.
And I'm Sylvana.
She is. We're going to be going on a cinematic voyage. Well, why don't you tell the ladies and jelly spoons?
Well, we are going to be going through a cinematic voyage through every decade where movies have been made. And we're starting today with the 1920s. This decade was marked by glitz and
glamour. We had a discussion earlier about how exactly to pronounce the word glamour and spell it. Now, of course, it is spelled Glamor, and that's the way Americans do it, and that's the correct way to do it because it is pronounced glamour.
Which sounds fine if it's also spelled Glamour.
Yeah, but that would be glamour. And nobody wants to say glamour.
In a French accent. It doesn't have to be French.
I guess the French would like to say it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
But we disagree with everything that the French agree with.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that. Well.
So, as it was marked by glitz and glamours, also studios like Paramount, Warner Bros., and MGM began dominating the movie landscape.
And of course, silent films reigned supreme, featuring stars like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. And that is why today's stop is Sherlock Jr.
Today's stop, woo, woo. No, we don't. It's not a train sound.
No.
This is supposed to be sci-fi, like we're in a spaceship. So,
it sounds like a turkey or something.
it's a sci-fi turkey.
Oh,
and
nice.
we're riding on the back of him. And he's also his person, his little turkey servant, gave us a dossier as he as he arrived, and it's telling us information about the movie. I'm reading it right in front of me. I hope you can see. The movie Sherlock Jr. was directed by Buster Keaton and also starring Buster Keaton, as well as several other actors that we could name.
Catherine Maguire and Ward Crane.
To name but two. Now, for context, what could you tell us about this?
Just a little bit about it. The movie was in 1924. That is why we have chosen it. I think it's pretty representative of the 1920s and, of course,
representation
of silent film era. Silent films were really at its peak during this time, and then were replaced by talkies in the 1930s. But yeah, Sherlock Jr. was kind of one of those movies that people loved back then.
It occurs to me now that we haven't actually told the ladies and gentlemen what this show is.
Oh.
So this is the show where we are going to be going on a cinematic journey through space and time, through every single decade where movies have been made. And we're starting with the 1920s because that's the earliest where movies were made? Question mark?
Well,
Big fat question mark?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
There were some movies made in the 1910s.
Racist movies.
There were racist movies made. Yeah, that's an excellent point. And one I want to get back to, actually. But there are very early on, like snippets of movies, like just scenes here and there. But the first full movie in the United States was, unfortunately,
Racialist.
a pretty racist movie.
Wasn't it by the Ku Klux Klan, the very Klan that everyone is familiar with?
The title of it originally was Klansman. And it was a movie about the South and how basically should have won the Civil War. And it depicted the KKK as heroes. And to this day, unfortunately, again, it is the highest grossing.
I thought you were going to say the highest rated.
Oh, God, no. No. But I feel like it should still tell you something that it was the highest grossing, thank you, grossing film of life.
At that time?
No, of just any silent film, I'm pretty sure.
Of any silent film?
I think so.
The Ku Klux Klan earned more box office numbers than Charlie the Big Boy Chaplin?
Well, now I don't know. I really thought that is what it was.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I think it might be true.
Josh is our engineer. I think he was around for a moment. He'll probably stop in every now and then.
I'm gonna double down. I think on the fact that I think, unfortunately, Birth of a Nation is the highest grossing film that is a silent film of the United States.
I believe you. I'm just upset by it.
Well, yeah, me too.
Okay, so anyway, now that we've firmly established what this show is, and we've given a little bit of context to the movie, let's just say now is time to actually review the movie. Mm-hmm. This is, it's been a long time coming. Literally 100 years.
100 years exactly.
100 years since the movie came out, and we are modern people, modern Americans who are going to sit here and judge it by today's standards. We've seen Michael Bay movies. We've seen Quentin Tarantino movies. We know a thing or two about how things are supposed to look on camera.
Yep.
So, does this movie hold up? Firstly, have we seen this movie before? Have you seen this movie before?
I had not seen this movie before. This is the first time and the last time. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I mean, maybe.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. But no, I had not seen this film before. And I will admit, I think this might be my first full silent film that I have consumed, perhaps. I don't think I have a vivid recollection of others. How about you?
I've definitely seen silent shorts, but I did start, I want to call him Nafratu, but I know that's not his name. The vampire fella. Nosferatu, thank you so much. That is the movie that I did attempt to watch not so long ago. Well, at this point, maybe 5 years ago. I did start Nosferatu, and by golly, did I give up.
Did you hate it?
I fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
That's how I gave up.
Was it long or
that was my protest. In honor of the silence of the movie, I silently protested.
You silenced yourself.
By tucking myself into bed and going the fuck to sleep.
Well, I love that for you. Maybe you need to revisit it since the new one is coming out this
Now that I've got a more refined cinematic sensibility, I think maybe I could tolerate that more.
I mean, we should also say this movie is only 45 minutes long. So it's pretty short. Mm-hmm. I think that was probably a good thing.
Yes. I think it didn't have much story to convey.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I feel like maybe silence films that are shorter might be better.
Yes, maybe. I don't know what's the average running length of a silent film.
I was looking at other Charlie Chaplin movies, and most of them I think probably had a running time of an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
So quite a bit longer.
Yes.
Obviously nothing crazy. It's not 3-hour Martin Scorsese movies, but still a pretty long time. 1 hour and 30 minutes is a decent chunk.
I'm not trying to throw any amount of substantial shade toward Martin Scorsese, but...
Oh, be careful what you say
about
Marty in front of me.
Marty, yeah, I know you are on first name terms with the man.
Yeah.
He is a charming and skillful director, but the last couple of his films have been slowish.
Yeah. That's fair.
I wonder how much they would change if they were made silent.
I think if Martin Scorsese movies were silent, they would be unbearable.
It would be an interesting fan experiment. I feel like.
It would be unbearable.
No. But I mean, they would edit it down a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And just use very big facial expressions and gestures and things like that from the actors.
Yeah.
But there were scenes in Sherlock Jr. where they were speaking.
And that's right. And you can kind of tell.
And that we weren't getting a screen of text telling us exactly what they were saying, but using gestures and things like that, we really did know pretty much always what they were saying.
I think that's right.
I feel like I did.
And no, same with me.
Yeah.
And actually, there were a few times where I fully could read lips and understand what
aren't you fancy?
People are saying. Did you not?
At one point, I did see someone say "shut up," and I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that was scandalous for the time. Wow. It's almost like a swear word.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, but I would say, but back to the Martin Scorsese thing. I think if a fan project were to endeavor and put in a lot of time to edit the movie down and take out all sound and just have a soundtrack behind it, I think it could be done.
I think that's probably true.
With Killers of the Flower Moon, I think
why don't we know the man for this job?
Martin Scorsese?
No.
Oh, who?
It's Denis Villeneuve.
That's true.
He hates dialogue.
He hates dialogue with a passion.
He has said it. He has said it to us. He hates dialogue. Bring back silent films with Denis Villeneuve.
So Dune with no dialogue. It could have been done. Sure.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's cinematic.
Okay. Just because you can do a thing, why must you do a thing? Would it not be interesting for some experimental director out there to make a full feature-length film with no dialogue? Even a big budget. Has there been such a thing? Even in the A24 world?
What about A Quiet Place?
There's still dialogue.
But very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah, but if you add up all three of the movies, that's like a full movie's worth of dialogue right there.
There's 3 movies?
The third one's coming out. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. We have seen this. Yes, you're right.
We walked by the theater, cardboard cutout.
I still think it's barely any. No, it's barely any dialogue. I swear.
I mean, it's very little, and certainly when they do speak, it's in a whisper. Yeah. So it counts for like half a line.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, there is dialogue in there, and I think that we could accomplish one with none at all.
So are you saying that you like silent films enough that you want to bring them back?
No.
Oh.
No, but I'm saying that I think someone should experiment with doing that.
I think they should. And again, I think our man is Denis.
I think you're probably right, genuinely, because I think with modern cinematic sensibilities, with an emphasis on good pacing and good story structure, I think that we could make better silent films now than they made back then. And that's a bold claim, I'm sure.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think, well, this is something that we can get into, but I think what was hard for me specifically in watching this is the fact that I feel like my brain wasn't trained for it. Or it's like we don't know how to watch silent films. We've we don't know.
Yeah.
So like the cue cards and the elements added, I don't know how much they actually do anything for me. I feel like I was just ignoring a huge part of the movie because I didn't know how to fully read those texts.
Yeah, were you not reading them?
I was reading them. I just had no idea how some of them actually even related back to the movie at all.
Oh, well, that is a good point. So we have several prompts that we want to kind of touch on for basically any movie. So what worked? Yeah. What didn't work about the movie?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start with what didn't work.
Okay.
Because I think those dialogue cards that they would put up, I don't think they worked.
Yeah.
And I don't think because in principle they can't work. I think for this movie in particular, just the phrasing of all of those dialogue cards were so... I don't even want to...
It was so odd.
It was odd. It was awkward. It didn't sound like they were written by someone who speaks English.
No, that's
natively.
Right. I think that is the thing. It felt like inner thoughts or something, or almost like
very conceptual,
quick notes on something.
Yeah, it's like very conceptual, impressionistic language.
Yeah, that's right. And then it's like, but if you read it out loud, you're like that's not makes no sense. English. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, it's very odd, and I thought for a moment, hey, maybe it's like archaic. maybe in the 1920s they spoke or wrote that way. But I've read things from that time. I've read things from earlier than that. People didn't speak that way.
Yeah, I think it was just odd.
I think Buster Keaton was semi-illiterate, and that's why silent films were perfect for him.
Well, maybe. That is quite a
Well, no,
claim.
that's not fair. That's not fair because he didn't write it. So whoever wrote it was semi-illiterate.
That's true. Well, do we think that there's some sort of like cap that they had on how much text they actually wanted up on the film, and so they were like, let's condense, like almost like a telegram. It's like you only get like the 20 words or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Hey, we have cut our teeth now, we as a society, in Twitter.
That's true.
And we know how to express ourselves.
That's true. You can still do it.
You can still do it better than they were doing it.
You're right.
They were doing it. They were accomplishing it in a very. They were not accomplishing it.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. They were trying and failing to accomplish it.
So, not only did I think those dialogue cards did not work, but there was a lot of random quotes, like interspersed.
Quotes.
Yeah, like it was like actual, like in quotations, like blah 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 blah, and then like attributed to someone.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And
yeah.
I don't understand those or how those related to what was happening in the film at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that's the one you were talking about when you were saying you weren't really sure how the text was
related back. Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Like, it was like a random quote. And it was just like by Ernest. And I'm like, who's Ernest?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if somebody in the scene was quoting that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Or the filmmaker just thought that Buster Keaton thought we needed to know that at that moment.
But that is why I'm saying that I don't know if we know how to watch silent films.
Yeah, maybe this is like
maybe we just don't know. Right.
And like I don't want to elevate Buster Keaton
to Shakespearean status,
Shakespearean levels, but I will for at least the sake of this argument and say that maybe it's like you don't know how to read Shakespeare in that it's got its own grammar, not just literally in the words, but in the scene language.
Yeah. Its own reasons for including certain things.
Use of analogies and literary allusions and things like that. Yeah.
So it's like we don't know how to interpret those things in a way that back then people did.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give that the benefit of the doubt. Right. The actual dialogue cards, though, those I don't want to give a pass to because those just straight up did not make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so the other thing that didn't work for me was the story.
Interesting. Like just the story overall?
The story overall, such as it was.
Well, do you want to share with people like a very small snippet of what you think the story was about?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So fella, as far as I understood it, wanted to propose to a lady woman. Did. Then some Lothario walks in and starts sweet smooching on her.
Yeah, Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Mr. Steal Your Girl comes in and starts stealing his girl. Some other hijinks happens. He dreams. The end.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is right. Though I was reading that this was the first time that there was like a movie within a movie concept.
Yeah, I mean, I will say there were so many visual gags. We can do this on what did work.
Yeah.
But aside from the visual gags, just there
was no real plot.
The telling of the story, I feel like was very weak because there was like you can make a rom-com or even a drama or a romance movie that's just about getting the girl.
Of course.
And there are countless movies doing that. Yeah, they work, and you can make good ones. You can make bad ones. You can make okay ones. I think this one just, it was almost like it had an idea of where to start, and then it kind of petered out and just started
that's
doing
right.
fun stuff.
I think that's right. I think I wrote this on my notes as we were watching it, but it felt like two completely separate movies. Yeah. And we never actually fully got the first movie realized by the end of it.
I agree.
It was like by the middle of it, the director, in this case,
Buster Keaton.
Whoa.
No, I'm not gonna go
that God. It was like by the end of it, he was like, "Oh, I just want to do some cool things, and I'm just gonna explore that and do that." And then it was like, "Oh yeah, we have to tie up the end," and so they lived happily ever after. Great.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
as far as the story itself, I'm with you. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
We can talk about the fact that it's great that he was experimenting with some of these like cool effects and things like that. And I'm sure that this movie was one of the many reasons why other filmmakers and directors later on were able to do some of the things
he was walking and hipping and hopping and skipping so that other people could run.
Yeah.
And so, like, just to name some of the gags that worked really well, there were some that were just straight up stunts, like standing in front of the train cars that were coming together and almost getting smushed by them. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. I genuinely was like, how is this man alive?
I know.
I don't know.
The other one of those was when he was up on the water tower spout and he rode it down and then the water gushed out and he fell onto the train tracks.
That's right.
I mean, what he could have just broken his back. That's not even like a trick. That's not a cinematic trick. That he just did a crazy stunt.
Well, do you want me to tell you what happened?
Oh, sure. Yeah. If there's a story behind this, I'd love to know.
There is a story.
Yeah.
So that wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be only a trickle of water and a little bit of water.
Oh, wow.
Instead, it genuinely was like a huge
deluge.
Stream. Yeah. And in that, it like knocked him back. There were rail tracks. He cracked his head in it, like, or his neck or something like that. After that, he was done for the day. He was like, oh, it hurts too much. Then he was able to like go and work somehow.
Wow.
But he claims that he had a bad migraine from it for like weeks. And it wasn't until like months later that they were like, oh yeah, sir, you broke your neck. And you just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So he literally broke his neck doing this
I
stunt.
believe it.
Which is insane.
It was an insane stunt.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't go according to plan, but it was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But it wasn't just him that got tied up in the deluge.
Yeah, it was other people too.
I think someone came by in a car or something and they fell out.
Yeah.
Was that supposed to happen?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I assume this was all one take.
Yes. Yeah. I assume it was supposed to happen.
Unless they duplicated some of the water, the water dripping out of the
I don't think
spout.
so. I think it was just probably one take.
Yeah. So I wonder if they improv'd falling out of the car just to be part of the thing or something.
Maybe.
That, I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So that was good, and then obviously he did the overlay images where it was at the end when he was having his out of body experience during the dream. It was one shot overlaid on another.
Yeah.
So it looked like
he was like a ghostly
he was a ghost
figure.
standing next to himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was really well done.
The illusion played very well.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm wondering, I think I brought it up to you when we were watching, but I wonder if the way they accomplished one of him looking a little bit more ghostly than the other.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were shining higher lights on
Yeah, it did look like he was like hotter.
in that instance of the shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, worked very well. And then when he walked into the movie screen later, when he was like, we walked into the theater during the dream, and then literally walked through the TV screen into the film where he was watching that version of the Lothario character making time with his lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really cool.
That was really cool. Like
that was an all in camera effect as well. He
100%.
literally just walked up into a stage that looked like a screen.
Yeah.
But it looked perfect.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
Yeah.
It looked like exactly right. Like you would have believed that he was just walking into like a screen. That was really amazing. I thought that was a great thing. And then of course, the editing I thought was really good of like the cuts, like this very specific cuts between him like about to fall in one scene and then it's another scene.
So when he goes into the movie screen, he starts seeing himself like walking in different terrain.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he tries to deal with that terrain, it switches into something else. So he's in the desert, it turns into something else. He's in an urban setting, he's about to lean on something, and then he goes into the snow.
Yeah.
And then when he's trying to jump out of the snow, he falls into water or something. I don't remember. But yeah, like it's that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. And the one effect where he jumps inside
Oh yeah,
the suitcase.
That's just an illusionist trick. I think that was all in camera too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I read a little bit about it.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
Basically, like it was a hole, and it seemed like it wasn't because they had.
There's a little bit of cloth covering up where the hole was.
Yeah, exactly.
So it looked like the back of a suitcase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the top person was kind of laying horizontal, but had their like head craned in such a way so that it looked like it was vertical.
Interesting.
So things like that.
Yeah.
But Buster Keaton apparently gave interviews afterwards where he said like every director at that time that was making silent films came to him being like, how did you do that? We need to know. Because it was like one of the coolest things that they had ever seen. People did not know how he did it. But that was one of my favorite things. I feel like I really appreciate actual effects like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
tricks.
I think you and I both have a high appreciation for practical effects of any kind.
100%.
Including in-camera effects or using miniatures and models and
totally.
overlaying shots or whatever.
Yeah.
Any way you can use real footage.
Real things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I love that because I feel like obviously now it's a wonderful thing that we have things like CGI and other things like that.
Yeah.
But
and AI now.
But
You know, AI is going to start podcasting soon. And then
you're telling me they're going to come for our jobs?
They're going to take our jobs.
No.
Let's quit while we're ahead. No, you want to keep going?
No, I want to keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Did you have more to say on what you think the film did well?
I think, the actual editing was really great. I think the story, like I said, didn't work for me, but I actually really liked the actors. I think they were pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I think
certainly
Buster Keaton was great. And I think I really like how good they were at really conveying things just with their own bodies, like with their own physical things that they had. Or
speaking of, there are two gags that we didn't talk about. One was when at the very beginning of the movie, he's working as a janitor in a movie theater. I don't think we've said that he was a janitor in a movie theater,
but he wants to be a detective.
He wanted to be a detective, hence it's called Sherlock Jr. And so he's got a little handbook on him at all times that gives him little tips and tricks on how to be a detective. But at the beginning of the movie, he's like rummaging through some trash.
Yeah.
And finds a dollar bill. People keep coming, whatever. But he ends up with this newspaper being stuck to his foot. And then he tried to get it off with his hand, and it gets stuck to his hand. Yeah. Takes it off with his other hand, it gets stuck to his other hand. And so it's just this funny kind of very sight-based gag. Yeah. And the way he gets it off is very quickly throwing his hand on the floor as someone walks by so that it gets stuck on someone else's shoe. And it was just so smooth that I was just impressed by it.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it wasn't the funniest slapstick gag.
Yeah,
but it was just so smooth that it was just impressive.
Yeah, I think that is what I really liked about it as well. And I think there were little things, for example, that I was like, oh, I like how they're conveying that. Like at the very beginning, we learned that he wanted to be a detective, and one of the ways that we know that he's really trying to become this is that he touches his book and then almost leaves like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
And then he grabs a magnifier.
To see if he can see the
magnifying glass and see. Yeah. And I just really like that because it was like a little thing that he did that make us know like that he's committed almost to becoming this detective, or that this is something that he really wants to learn more about.
Yeah. And did we ever get the sense that he was actually any good at being a detective? No. I don't think so. I think we got the idea that he sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also part of the joke.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's right. How did you feel about the music? Because we haven't talked about it yet, but obviously the score and the music in silent films is incredibly important, right? It also is just like it is now, but even more so when without dialogue, music kind of tells you how you're supposed to be feeling at any given moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any did you have any thoughts about it as you were watching it?
Well, I did have one thought when I was watching it, that it sounded a lot like John Williams.
Interesting.
So I thought it feels like John Williams might have taken some inspiration from this.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there were also so many things that felt like Looney Tunes took inspiration.
Yeah, totally.
For example, at one point he puts a banana peel on the floor.
Classic.
And waits for him to come trip over it.
Yeah.
But do we think that he started that? Is it possible that Buster Keaton started that? Because who else did? Or was that just a well-known gag that you could do in real
What
life?
well-known? Who?
I don't know, crazy uncles. You know the kind of crazy uncles that are like, "Hey,
Just
put
leave
it there,
it
pal," and then he's got a buzzer in his hand.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah. But have you ever
"Here's
met?
a quarter," and then he hands you a quarter, and it like breaks in half. You're like,
Okay, but have you ever met an uncle like that?
Yeah.
In real life? You have?
Yeah, not my uncle, but I've met uncles like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they
well,
exist.
I haven't. Well, okay, then, yeah.
You
I don't
haven't
know.
had a fun uncle?
No. Well, my uncles are fun. If you're listening to this, uncles, you're great.
I don't know. I think she has just confirmed. your
No,
unfunness.
no. I'm just saying they don't like go electrocuting me.
Okay, well,
You know?
maybe you need to start doing that. At least the ones that claim to be fun.
Maybe. Yeah, I appreciated the music. I appreciated the score. I
Yeah.
think what's interesting about it is that obviously we're watching it now 100 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, if they were showing this, like truly screening this, the music would be played live.
Yeah.
So the music that we were hearing, the score that we were hearing, is one that a band would physically play in a movie theater with others watching.
That's so
the movie.
interesting. I wonder why, though. Because at that point, maybe they just didn't have speakers that were good enough? Because they
Maybe.
did have, like, those warbly record players and such.
Maybe it was just not. Yeah, maybe
What were
it's
they
just.
called? Gramophones?
Yeah, but like maybe they weren't loud enough. I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe also another incentive to kind of transition people from theater to a movie.
Yeah, because it
you know,
feels like
like
it's
there's
still
some live
performance.
experience. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good point,
Yeah.
because I think that was a hang-up for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love that. Like, imagine people do that nowadays.
I've seen
right?
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah,
Wait,
I've
which
gone-
one did you see?
Geez, I can't remember at this point. I think I went to see Harry Potter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
They
think
do a lot of Harry Potter.
I think I saw Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That was like the movie was being broadcast on
Yeah,
the wall,
yeah.
and the music was being
Yeah.
live performed by a band
Yeah.
in the pit.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I feel
it was really
a
cool.
great experience, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's interesting because the music had to be even like very good back then,
Mm-hmm.
not only to convey emotion, but because you knew that most likely a live band was going to be playing it for screenings and such.
Yeah, exactly.
So I appreciated that. That was another thing that I think
it
worked
was-
well.
I think it did for the most part. Honestly, I can't remember the music in certain.
I mean, it was very like, you know,
situations. It was classically
classic slapstick comedy.
jaunty
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
sound
like
to it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think a lot of it served its purpose.
Yeah.
So it wasn't beautiful, but it was utilitarian.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
for what it was needed, it worked well.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we have anything else that we liked or didn't like about the movie, or thought worked or didn't work?
I don't think so. I think that is it for me. I mean, one very quick thing.
Yeah.
Another thing that they had to do excellently back then, I feel like, was makeup,
Sure.
especially with women, because I think it helped with expressions and things like that. And even some of the men, you could tell had makeup
Oh,
on.
the men absolutely,
Yeah.
definitely had makeup on.
And yeah, I appreciate the artistry of like a makeup artist even back then doing things like that.
One thing that I expected to see and I didn't see
Uh-huh.
was Vaseline on the lens when we were filming
Oh
Ladies.
yeah, of course, you're right.
I feel like that was just an
was such a
absolute
thing.
mainstay
Yeah,
of
you're right,
Hollywood.
you're right.
Whenever there's a woman on camera,
Yeah.
there has to be Vaseline
Yeah.
smeared all over it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's interesting that we didn't see that. You're right.
Yeah. But the makeup was done well and again served its purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any preconceptions coming into this movie? I think maybe this should be in the section above.
Yeah, that
Maybe
makes
we'll
sense.
make that adjustment for the
Yeah.
next episode.
Yeah, I like that.
But did you have any preconceptions coming into this movie? Did you think it was going to be something that it didn't end up being?
I don't think that that's true. I think I didn't think I was gonna like it. To be perfectly honest,
You thought you were going to hate it?
I don't know about hate.
You thought you were already not a fan of Buster Keaton?
No, Buster Keaton's fine. I don't know. I actually don't know. Maybe he's a horrible human,
might
and
have
I'm
been a
just
Nazi.
yeah, he might have been. Well,
we only know that Charlie
maybe.
Chaplin wasn't.
right.
He was
right.
a pedophile, not a Nazi.
Oh God. Okay. Well, maybe so was Buster Keaton. I don't know. I don't want to say that he was the most excellent man to live because who knows? Who knows? You never know these days.
These days,
yeah,
you just
yeah.
can't tell anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think I think dialogue is so important to me. That's why when I heard Denis Villeneuve saying that he didn't think it was important, I was like, the hell are you talking about, man? Like, dialogue is so important to me. And obviously, I so appreciate beautiful cinematography. I love that. But just like lyrics are my favorite part of a song, dialogue is super important for me when it comes to movies.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think I just didn't think that I was really going to be able to fully enjoy it. And I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that I actually felt like there's a couple of good chuckles there. I was pretty impressed by a couple of the stunts. There was one that we also didn't discuss, which was him going through the window and into a change of clothes. Into a women's dress.
That's right.
And that was really cool. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Was very cool. Yeah.
And I wonder how many takes they had to do, because there's no way that on the first try he jumped through. Because, okay, so setting the scene here a little bit. He was inside with a bunch of gangsters, one of them being the Lothario. And he had to escape them, and he had to jump through, a normal-sized window. Now, before he'd gone into that building, he'd put a hoop that had canvas or paper on either side of the hoop. And in the middle was a lump of cloth. So he had to jump through both sides of the paper through this hoop, grab the clothes, and assemble
put it on
mid-air. So by the time he was already on the ground, he looked like an old crone.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was. It really was.
It was really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think most of these movies back in that time, I think the total time that they would film would be like a month. 2 months. Yeah. Like, I don't think they were long.
No, not at all.
So I think it was kind of like,
let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Yeah. So I don't know how many takes, or if they just felt like they needed to like really.
Well, obviously there was no supervision over the safety of their.
Yeah, that's true. The
stunts.
Water at least. Yeah.
Well, also, what about the one where he was driving the car on a bridge or a bit of road?
Yeah.
And as he was driving, it was collapsing.
Oh yeah.
That one looked like it was dangerous too. And
that did look super dangerous. That looked almost like a figurine to me or something. Like it was like a model, but I don't know. I don't know. The other thing that it reminded me that I saw is that there is also a scene where he's driving a car that turns into a boat.
Yes.
And that was inspiration for one of the James Bond movies.
I was literally going to say that's a James Bond thing right there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. They directly took that inspiration. Yeah.
And we also watched the ungentlemanly Ministry of Warfare Conduct. All of these words are correct, but reconfigure them slightly. We just watched that Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
And one of those characters was also the inspiration for James Bond.
Yeah.
For Ian Fleming.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's very interesting what his inspirations were.
Yeah.
World War II kind of anti-hero.
Yeah. Gadgety things.
And Buster Keaton.
That's right.
That's James Bond.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. How about you?
I definitely I was not sure I was going to like it. Yeah. I wasn't going in thinking I wouldn't like it, but I really wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be more of like the Three Stooges, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was expecting the sight gags that we got, but I was expecting it to be basically pure just slapstick from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And maybe I would have enjoyed that better because then the story truly wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, that's true.
Because although I will say that I appreciate and respect the movie for what it was.
Yeah, me too.
Because it was using humor and such, but it was also attempting to tell a real story and be a little bit conceptual and abstract with the way it was telling the story without being able to speak.
Yeah.
And that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Now I think
that's right.
I think it kind of failed.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
In some ways it failed. But I think in other ways it was obviously revolutionary, but also interesting from a future person's perspective.
I mean, like, I'm sure that this is kind of like a first draft almost to what became a lot of what silent films then did.
Yeah.
So
do we remember, or do you happen to know off the top of your head if Buster Keaton was learning from Charlie Chaplin or vice versa? Like, who was looking up to who? Or were they just pure peers and competitors?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Obviously, around the same time, Chaplin started doing some of his most renowned work, including The Gold Rush, which was a movie
That we
also
chose
in the
not to
20s
do.
that we chose not to do.
Yeah.
But it was the one that Chaplin said that he would have liked most people to remember him by. I gotta feel like Chaplin was doing the more introspective stuff,
Yeah.
whereas Buster Keaton was just doing more of the let's blow shit up and see what happens.
He was
type
the
of
Michael
stuff.
Bay of the day.
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
yeah. I feel like that's probably true.
Okay,
don't
so
you?
if Buster Keaton was the Michael Bay of the day, then who was Charlie Chaplin? Was he the Quentin Tarantino
I feel like something, like something that is a little bit like
guy? No,
Like-
not Guy Ritchie.
yeah. I feel like here's the thing. I feel like from just this one movie, Buster Keaton seems to me like someone who wanted to just really revolutionize the way that movies were being made or the way that things
He was
were.
like a cinema nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Chaplin was way more interested in
A message.
a message
Yeah.
and like showing what was going on in the world at that time and
yeah,
place.
yeah.
So I feel like they're probably both very different vibes, which is interesting because obviously I feel like so many people remember Chaplin as just like a comedy, funny dude.
Yeah.
But to me, there's so much more depth there.
I mean, I've never
there.
I've never seen his serious movies, so
Yeah,
I think that if we're able to get one maybe in the 30s,
yeah.
I
would love to do
I
that.
would love that. Although
Yeah.
I don't know how many we're planning on doing per decade. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out and see whether we come back. I mean, we only have 10 decades before we reach our own.
What do we think?
That's only 10 episodes. We got to go back.
Yeah, and then we'll be back to the 20s. What do you think we're going to choose for the 2020s?
Oh, I have no idea.
Quiet Place 3?
No.
We'll end, hang on, but we'll end the 100 years with another quiet movie.
That would be fun, actually.
Hey,
You're right.
come
That would be
on,
fun. I
right?
kind of like that. Very full circle. You're right. Very full circle.
But I think that Quiet Place 1 came out before 2020. So it'll have to be a sequel, which will feel weird.
Quiet Place 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll have to be a sequel.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So is it merely of its time?
Yes.
Do you think this movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
100%.
right.
Yeah. If this movie came out today, I think that it would probably be a spectacle just because it's so different than anything else.
Yeah.
And maybe for that reason might do well. It might just kind of be a Barbenheimer thing where Barbie did not deserve to be as big as it was.
Yeah.
But kind of rode the coattails of
That's
Oppenheimer.
right. Yeah.
Maybe it would just ride the coattails of its sensational uniqueness
Yeah, I
for our
think.
time.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, this was so off its time, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we have picked, like, this is just like very indicative of
There
how
were
the 20s
literally bad guys slipping on, or people slipping on bananas.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't get much more old school than that.
So it was definitely of its time.
Yeah.
I think we can appreciate it still, obviously, but
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess a similar question. Does it hold up though? Like, is it a good movie now? You can say that it's interesting. You can say that there are insights into old cinema to be found. But is it a good movie now? To you? An intelligent woman of the 21st century.
probably not. Probably not, right? Like, no.
Okay. Do you have a
I appreciate it for so many other reasons.
Sure.
That will count towards how ultimately I rate this movie.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm just gonna say like, is it a movie that is
Good.
actually good? Probably not. How do you feel about that?
No, yeah, it isn't a good movie.
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Now it's not anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Expired.
Yeah.
It's spoiled.
At least there were no like
now it
weird like
stinks.
racist or sexist or weird things in it. So that's something.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Although I guess it wasn't terribly sexist to the woman.
No.
I mean, she seemed
don't think so
upset.
at all.
She seemed upset at the size of her ring. the diamond on the ring. She pulled out a magnifying glass.
That is true.
And was like, I like shiny things. This is not shiny enough for me to see with the naked eye. So I need a magnifying glass. And I'm still not impressed. And then they had an uncomfortable situation where they weren't sure who was going to hold whose hand.
That's true.
Yeah.
But she is the one that ultimately discovers who the bad guy was.
That's true. So she was
smart.
doing investigation. She was showing gumption.
Yeah.
Real gumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So not sexist, not racist. Check.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what did you think about the anything else? Just kidding.
Writing.
No.
Cinematography, score, acting.
I think we've touched on all these things.
We've talked about all these things. Yeah.
Tell me this.
Yeah.
Did this movie ruin your life, or did it improve it?
Okay, so here's the thing. This is where this answer is so dramatically different from. Don't laugh.
Yeah, well,
It's just so dramatically.
that was a very
different.
grandiose way to begin a sentence.
Well, it's true. Wait for it.
Okay.
I think it improved my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
A bad movie improved your life.
I think
Say
that's
more.
true. I think that's true. Because, I mean,
Because
obviously.
it inspired you to never watch bad movies again.
No.
Okay.
It's because I think I want to give way more credit to how Hollywood started and how some, like back then, like stunts were such a big thing. Like now I feel like we don't recognize stunt people a lot.
That's true. I think that is actually changing, though.
I think that is changing,
Yeah.
which I still think there should be a stunt category for
Absolutely.
a lot of these
I mean, it's kind of
award
like
shows.
it's like doing acting inside of a suit.
Yeah.
Also, I don't
Yeah.
think that gets enough
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
Or voice acting, I don't think that gets nearly enough credit.
I think that's right.
And
I think that's why I feel like, but movies back then felt like they were way more of a collaborative thing, where now it feels like very much a director-actor thing in some ways, or at least that's how it's perceived. Obviously, you and I appreciate more deeply than that.
Yeah.
But back then, I feel like it was very obvious that like the makeup had to be on point, the stunts had to be on point, like the editing had to be on point. You know what I mean? And so I really appreciate seeing the start of Hollywood and what became really to be like the Hollywood that we know it to be.
Yeah.
And how you can clearly see that it was built by more than just actors and directors back then.
Yeah.
So
Although I will
think that,
say, I will say that I appreciate it for the same reason.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me to see that the vanguard of Hollywood at the time was led by insane people.
Yeah.
And that, I think, goes to ramify somewhat the theory that people in America, at least the colonial people, we'll say, started out on the East Coast, and nobody made it over to the West Coast except for the absolute most lunatic
craziest
of them. Yeah, just the craziest people were like, I am going to go through this gigantic, huge, continent-sized country.
Yeah.
Through so many kinds of wilderness, through so many types of predators and temperatures, lack of water in the deserty areas, food, starvation, whatever, to make it to the other side. For what reason? I don't know. But
they had a dream, man.
They did it. They became gamblers, made Vegas. They became just artistic lunatics, made Hollywood. Yeah. And that DNA, I think, is also in Silicon Valley.
I think that's right.
To make the startups and like go broke doing what you believe in or whatever. Just trying to make it big. Yeah. And so, all of the lunatics went over, the creative and beautiful and amazing lunatics went over to the West Coast. Yeah. And I think you can see that in cinema at the time, where they're just doing the weirdest things, so creative, inspiring the Looney Tunes.
100%.
And
I
so
love
I
that.
definitely appreciate it for that.
Yeah, I love that sentiment, and I feel like that is why I said that it like improves my life. There's some other movies that I watch now that is like I don't think a single thought. Like worthwhile thought I've gotten from this movie, if that makes sense. I feel like from this movie I can have some things to learn from it that I think like deepen and broaden my understanding of cinema. Cinema.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the summary ruling. Now, this is a spaceship, and on the spaceship as co-captains, our ruling is law. Yep. And so if we deem this to be a bad movie, and I think we've spoiled that already. But if this is gonna get just an absolute rotten rating from us, I'm afraid we're gonna have to execute this movie.
Yep.
And
Summary execution.
Throw it out of the
pod. I don't know.
The hatch.
Oh yeah, sure.
Decompression
Yeah,
hatch?
yeah.
What the heck is that called? That has a name?
Hatch, isn't that?
We'll blast it out the hatch.
Yeah.
What if that's the expression? All right. So, do we know what this got on Rotten Tomatoes? If indeed Rotten Tomatoes has a rating,
I'm sure it does.
0%?
And I don't know that. No, I don't think that's true. I think it was somewhere in the 90% range.
All right,
Actually, I'm pretty sure.
well, tell us what your critical rating is while I look up.
Okay,
the
my
Rotten
critical
Tomatoes.
rating of it is and this is out of 10. I don't know. 4.5.
4.5 out of 10. That is
Yeah.
under the middle line. So
I think that's right.
It's under the median.
Just under
under the
middle
median.
line, yeah.
Well, okay. So Rotten Tomatoes did give this an 86%. Now, I think that they're trying to sound intelligent. Like, they're going to rate highly old movies that were foundational for Hollywood.
Right.
It's almost like if you gave it a bad review, people are going to be like, maybe you just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe people might say that of us. And if they do,
Come at us.
come at us, man. We can take you.
Yeah.
I've got knuckles like ceramic plates.
Whoa. Okay.
When they break, they get sharp.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so your critical rating is 4.5?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I think my critical rating, and again, the critical rating for this is based on if we were movie critics and we were going to be writing based on the technique and I don't know, the actual
story, the actual
filmic
story,
art of the movie.
Yeah.
I think I would give it, I don't know. I got 4.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Because they basically, I'm giving it that for the stunts.
I think that's right. Same with me.
Yeah.
Those 4 points are the stunts, I think.
The stunts are good.
Yeah.
The editing illusions that they've done, like make him turn into a ghost of himself.
Yeah.
Neat for the time, obviously. Like if we're gonna look at this without our rose-tinted glasses on, we can do better now.
Yeah, that's right.
By a lot. So yeah.
Okay.
If we're rating it on the if it were to come out this year, it's just not that great.
Yeah.
What's your heart rating though? So irrespective of how critically good the movie is, how did it make you feel? Are you gonna watch this movie again? That sort of thing.
I think I'm gonna do a 2.5 out of 5. Half of my heart.
It's only half of your heart?
Half of my heart.
Okay. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I will give this movie a 1.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty low.
It's.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
but
I
this
don't
is
think
just
I'm
for my
gonna-
heart. I will,
Yeah,
if I have
yeah.
my way, I'll never watch this movie again.
Yeah, well, same. I don't think I'm ever gonna be. It's never gonna call out to me.
Yeah.
I think the 2.5 is just because I weirdly appreciate it. I appreciate what they were trying to do. I'm saying
that's the only reason I've
Yeah.
given it a 1 and not a 0.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I appreciate what they've done for cinema, but I never want to see it again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So yeah, that's
Would
how I feel.
you recommend it
No.
to anybody?
I guess to a film student.
Yeah.
To a film student, if you want to learn to do practical effects and stuff, it's a good foundation.
Yeah.
Because like I made films when I was young. When I was in elementary school and middle school, I got a little video camera that my mom had.
Nice.
For whatever reason, and me and my friends would make skits.
Yeah.
And the beginnings were always in camera illusions.
I love that.
So that it was us walking through walls, and other just weird things that you can accomplish in camera. So that's how we got our start. And
I love that.
Yeah, we accelerated from there, but it would be a fantastic thing for a new film student to pick up on.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think similarly. I don't think if somebody's like, hey, what should I watch tonight? I'm not going to be like, hey, Sherlock Jr.
If you want an absolute banger and a popcorn movie, you're going to want to watch Sherlock Jr. by Buster Keaton.
Yeah. I don't think I will ever say that. But similarly, I think if somebody was like, I want to learn more about how cinema got started, I'd be like, watch that. It's 45 minutes of your time. It's not like you're losing hours.
Yeah, the brevity is actually to its credit.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, that is it for Sherlock Jr. We will be returning with another movie from the 1930s next week. We're not going to tell you which because we hate you. And also we want to tease you a little bit. Maybe I do. She loves you a little bit. We're going to play a little good cop, bad cop. And I am unfortunately going to be the sponge for your hatred. So if you would like, you can follow us on the socials by going to @MovieVoyagePod, and also on whatever podcast app you have, you can subscribe to us there. Subscribe to our feed, and you'll see when new episodes come out.
That's right.
And also give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts,
of course, you
or
must.
wherever else you can do that. All right, so thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time on Movie Voyage.
Goodbye.
Through space and time.
Woo.